40 years ago, a groundbreaking sci-fi franchise was born. And we don't mean Star Wars. This was a franchise so groundbreaking that it spawned an even bigger franchise later. Yes, on September 17, 1978, ABC debuted Battlestar Galactica, an ambitious science fiction series that many people remember fondly despite the fact that it only ran for a single season. Battlestar Galactica's influence has been immense, and the 2003 reboot is still counted as an all-time great television show regardless of genre. Because indeed, it has all the genres in it. It's a family drama, a space opera, a political thriller, and a love story all in one. To celebrate the 40th anniversary of the franchise, we're putting the focus on OG Battlestar and how it became one of genre's most beloved shows. So say we all. Wait, that's the wrong Galactica. Now, you may think that Battlestar Galactica began as a Star Wars ripoff, and sure, some of the space battles definitely seem to have a familiar vibe. That's probably because special effects artist John Dykstra and a few ex-ILM employees tackled Battlestar Galactica right after working on the original Star Wars. 20th Century Fox actually filed a lawsuit over the perceived similarities between Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars. But series creator Glenn A. Larson contended that he came up with the idea for the show in 1968 when it was called Adam's Ark. That's not to say that the network and studio didn't play up the Star Wars similarities by calling the pilot Saga of a Star World and releasing it theatrically before the show debuted on TV. Yes, they did. They totally did that. And there does seem to be a little hint of John Williams and Stu Phillips' soaring theme for the series. Right? By the Lords of Kobol, we really love that music. As conceived by Larson, Battlestar Galactica took place in a distant part of the universe where humanity had spread out and formed 12 colonies. However, the evil robots known as the Cylons decimated humanity in a sneak attack and left the survivors desperately searching for the legendary 13th colony. That would be us. Earth was the 13th colony within the show. Although the survivors were bound to be disappointed when they finally got here, especially if they got here in 2018. So, yes, the Galactica was apparently the only surviving Battlestar, and it led a ragtag fleet of 200+ ships to keep the spark of humanity alive. Former Bonanza star Lorne Greene headlined the cast as Commander Adama, the leader of the Galactica and its fleet. Richard Hatch played Adama's son Apollo, an ace Viper pilot, and the best friend of Starbuck, as portrayed by Dirk Benedict. Adama also had a daughter named Athena, but Maren Jensen left the show before the end of the series. Anne Lockhart's Lieutenant Sheba helped fill that void, and so did Lorette Spang's Cassiopeia. Veteran actor John Colicos had previously played the Klingon named Kor on Star Trek years before, cast as Baltar, the traitor who allowed the Cylons' sneak attack to wipe out the colonies. See, in the original series, because the Cylons didn't have many distinguishing features, Baltar was the show's primary villain. That actor, by the way, also provided the voice of Apocalypse on X-Men the Animated Series, with his little A buckle.
Spare me your petty judgment. Face the power of Apocalypse!
Lost in Space star Jonathan Harris also lent his voice to BSG as Lucifer, Baltar's second-in-command.
You are to disengage at once and move with all dispatch to Gamorre to save our imperious leader.
Originally, the plan was to air Battlestar Galactica as a miniseries on ABC, with TV movies to follow. However, the network jumped the gun and went straight to series. That's one of the reasons that the show was notorious for reusing its space battle footage. Unlike modern TV shows, there doesn't appear to have been a plan to tell an overarching story with this series, and it honestly feels like the creative team was making it up as they went along. Even the pilot episodes feel that way as they undercut the tension of humanity's near extinction by dropping them on a resort planet. Just kind of weird when the world's ending. But there were some continuing elements like Boxy, the young boy that Apollo adopted early in the season. Fantasy fans may recall that after playing Boxy, Noah Hathaway had the key role of Atreyu in the Neverending Story. And perhaps most memorable of all, Boxy had a robotic dog, or Daggett, called Muffet. Yes, it looks like a Muppet, but it was played by, and I wish we were kidding here, a chimpanzee in a costume. Yep, that's real. Is it better than CGI? I guess? Should they have used an animal? Absolutely not. Daggett wasn't the only word created for this series, as the writers tried to sci-fi up the lingo, so weeks became sectons, hours became centaurs, and a Yaren made up a colonial year. But their greatest contribution to the English language was frack, which can be used as an expletive without setting off TV censors.
No. Frack me. Frack! Oh, frack off. Oh, frack me.
So it's like Frel before Farscape, or Frel after Farscape. Interestingly, Larson incorporated a lot of Mormon theology into the show, including the concept of Kobol, the president, and the Quorum of 12, as well as the hieroglyphics that were deeply ingrained in colonial culture. Later episodes in the first season introduced the Ship of Lights, filled with angelic beings, and the Great Deceiver, Count Iblis. He was basically Satan. In the final episode of the series, the fleet narrowly missed receiving transmissions from the Apollo 11 moon landing, which established that the show was set closer to the present than previously believed. But that was the premature ending of the original series, which was canceled by ABC. However, the massive fan campaign that followed caused the network to rethink that decision. The result was Galactica 1980, a spin-off sequel to the original that only kept Lorne Greene as Adama and Herb Jefferson Jr. as the newly promoted Colonel Boomer. Apollo was gone and presumed dead, but Kent McCord played Captain Troy, a grown-up version of Boxy. Galactica 1980 took place a few decades after the original series and featured the colonial fleet locating modern-day Earth, which was in no shape to help them fight the Cylons. And here's where things get a little weird and renegade. Commander Xavier travels to the past to change Earth's history? Apparently time travel was originally going to be a major part of the show until ABC vetoed the change. And for more weirdness, a group of children from the fleet called the Super Scouts came to live on Earth. They developed superpowers? Sure. ABC pulled the plug on the show after only 10 episodes, but not before bringing back Dirk Benedict for a single story that revealed Starbuck survived on an alien world alongside a friendly Cylon Centurion. It's kind of like Enemy Mine, except Lou Gossett Jr. isn't there or pregnant. That was it for Battlestar Galactica's original incarnation, although Hatch tried to keep the flame alive. In 1999, Hatch co-wrote and co-directed Battlestar Galactica: The Second Coming, a 30-minute pilot that ignored Galactica 1980 and brought back a few of the original cast while introducing a new generation of Viper pilots and upgraded Cylon threats. Hatch screened the trailer at various Comic-Cons and sci-fi conventions where it was very enthusiastically received. However, The Second Coming never made it beyond that stage. There were rival attempts to resurrect Battlestar Galactica, including theatrical adaptations, but it was ultimately brought back to life by Ronald D. Moore in 2003 by the greatest network of all time, SYFY. But that's a story for another day. Ultimately, Battlestar Galactica had a far bigger impact than anyone could have predicted, and the original series is still an enjoyable trip into a very different era of science fiction. Where would we be without it? What was your favorite part of the original Battlestar Galactica? Let us know in the comment section below.